The truth may be out there, but when it comes down to it, how many of us give a fuck? Hi guys, Model Muppet here. I came across a really interesting article which I thought would make for pretty good commentary. Link is in the description, but it breaks down like this. Everything we think we know is wrong. Alright, maybe, just maybe, that's a bit of a wild generalization. But the article looks at information we get from the media, how it is represented to us, and how likely we are to believe it. Now, while of course there are respected media outlets like Fox News in the United States and paragons of publishing like the Daily Star in the UK, there is a tendency for people to swallow bullshit as paraded by the likes of the Daily Mail, as long as it does one important thing. It must pander to our own prejudices. Now, I'm going to, bear with me here guys, I'm going to give you an example from my own life, and see if the general principle of this rings any bells. My mum had a lifelong fear of nursing homes based on her experience with her mum while she was in one. Without going into loads of detail, her mother had very bad dementia and needed heavy sedation. Now one day my mum reads a Daily Mail article giving us a typical shock horror headline that 3/4 of patients in nursing homes are sedated unnecessarily to make life easier for the staff looking after them. Now at that time I had at least 15 years of experience working in nursing homes as a registered nurse. Most of that time I was in a managerial position. I had oversight and responsibility for patient care, GP liaison, falls management, relative support and insurance and compliance with regulatory bodies like the Care Quality Commission. And it was part of my job to know who was on medications with sedative effects, whether that was the medication's side effect or its main effect. Now the main points I presented to my mum were roughly that for one, patients on sedation are more difficult to care for, not less. Sleep disturbances are more common, eating and nutrition suffers, confusion increases, falls are more likely, and patients require more physical help and assistance for all daily activities. But for that aside, nursing home staff don't prescribe medications. Doctors do, and doctors aren't affiliated with nursing homes. And they quite rightly don't give a flying fuck about how easy or hard it is to care for someone. They generally speak and prescribe medication based on what the patient needs, nothing else. Dr. Shipman aside, doctors don't want patients doped up to the eyeballs and have no interest in turning nursing homes into some Victorian opium den. Regulatory bodies have an agenda when inspecting homes, and overprescribing gets seen. In my fairly substantial experience, about 5% of patients will be on medication with sedation as the desired effect. So, would my mum take on board my well-reasoned, knowledgeable arguments as a true reflection of reality? Or would she remain entrenched in her own prejudices based on her limited experience? How can they get away with reporting of it if it's not true, she would ask. Well, here's how. Look at any medication literature that comes with it in a box, and you'll see a huge list of potential side effects. Nearly every single medication out there will say may cause nausea or headaches. It's a disclaimer. A huge amount will say may cause drowsiness. Do not drive or operate machinery while taking this medication. So, a patient is on tablets, say, for depression, with a potential side effect of drowsiness, so bang, the media will bung them on the sedated patients list. It's twisting the facts to present an agenda. Or another way of looking at it, it's all bollocks. So, here's some stuff the public have got way out of whack. Teenage pregnancy. Roughly 0.6% of girls under 16 get pregnant each year. Now, the survey of the British public says 15%. On average, the British public believes rates of teen pregnancy are about 25 times higher than they actually are. Why is that? Because papers like the Evening Standard will show articles teen pregnancy soars, which tells readers that rates rose by 40% in some parts of London, but doesn't actually bother to say what the actual rates are for London or the country as a whole. And even when reporters do give us numbers, just as in the same way the facts were skewed for the article on sedation, listen to this. They're often framed in a misleading way. The Daily Mail, lamenting Britain's failure to stem the rise in teen pregnancy tells us that rates have risen to around 3.1%. But they define teenage girls as anywhere between 15 and 19. Now that's technically accurate. But there's a bit of a difference between pregnant school kids and adults who are old enough to get married, have kids, maybe at work, university, all that kind of stuff. The same kind of distortion is there for immigration, crime, religious extremism, but strangely enough they ignore most of what actually does make religion harmful. But also social welfare programs, benefit fraud, basically anything that can get people riled up and hot under the collar. And here's the key thing: to buy their fucking paper. Media today is a circus, and the ringmaster will gladly sell his soul to get more visibility, more circulation, and more money. Newspapers have always pandered to the prejudice of their readership. That isn't news, but we vote on how our leaders act on such news, and they, like the ringmasters, have become experts on pandering, and they probably sold their souls too. So, David Cameron has plans to make the internet safe and remove porn. I think he's going to stop me watching dairy maids frolickings with cows. What a beastly act. Benefit fraud in the UK is believed by the public to account for 24% of the welfare budget. The real figure is 0.7%. So what is Ian Duncan Smith going to do? Deal with the situation proportionately, or have a blaze of publicity surrounding his efforts to clamp down on fraud? Now, I understand that some of my viewers will be American or Canadian or whatever in Europe. You'll have the same kind of things going on over there. Before I finish with the closing paragraph from the article, I remind you to check it out for yourselves, because after all, you really don't want to take my word for it now, do you? I'm going to ask you this. Are you truly open-minded? Do you think for yourself? Or do you swallow whatever bullshit someone is feeding you from their agenda? Whether it's conspiracies around gaming publishers' plans to rip every penny they can out of our pocket, or theories about Muslim immigrants alternating between planting bombs and impregnating our kids. Question what you hear, but above all, question yourself. Ultimately, politicians and editors survive in their jobs because they tell people what they want to hear. You can educate people and you can spout facts like a Wikipedia server until someone gets bored and punches you in the face. But that assumes that people are empty vessels waiting to be filled with nourishing wisdom. In reality, we're more like obese, sugar-addicted tourists in a theme park, ready to stuff our faces with whatever feels good. You can educate people about vegetables, and you can plant a few carrots in the donut stand, but none of that really tackles the things that made them so unhealthy in the first place. This is Muppet Out saying, keep watching the skies. Bye. Oh, guys, just as a little last aside, this has been me, Craig Corleone. Very new to the game, but I said that I'd show his heroic last stand. Laters.